Hello, this is a deck profile on Purery, a deck that's so new that Dueling Book and Yugioh Pro don't even have the cards registered. And well, this is upcoming archetype from one of the upcoming sets. And I figured I'd do a deck profile on it because I couldn't really find any others. And well, as you'll see, this deck list is not exactly clean or optimized because, well, the deck's brand new and I threw it together for an hour, but it's here to give an idea of what this deck can do to some baseline degree. Now to start off with, the Purery cards, which I'm sure you probably don't recognize. The only main deck monster right now is Purery, a level 1 fairy with 100 attack and defense. Its effect is, if it is special summoned or normal summoned, you can excavate the top 3 cards of your deck and add 1 Purery spell trap to your hand and place the rest on the bottom of the deck. And then once per turn, you can reveal 1 Purery quick play spell on your hand, and if you do, special summon 1 Xyz monster that mentions it from your extra deck using this face-up card you control as material. And if you do, attach the revealed card to it as additional material. One thing you may notice is that neither of these effects are hard once per turns. Only one of them is a soft once per turn, and the other one is on summon, and this is pretty relevant because of an effect each quick play spell card has. Now, the quick play spell cards, or the memories, all share one effect, and that is that they allow you to special summon a Purery from your deck after meeting a condition. Generally, this is applying an effect to a monster on the field, and then you discard a card and special summon Purery. I am running 3 of each, so you can almost always hit it off of Purery's excavation effect. To start off with, Purery Delicious Memory, which makes a monster on the field immune to battle until the end of the next turn, and if it is as material for a Purery Xyz monster, that monster gains 300 attack and defense for each material attached to it. Next is Purery Happy Memory. This means that the next time a card will be destroyed by effect, it is not destroyed. Now this is relevant because this affects any cards, even your spell trap cards, which can definitely help. And if this is Xyz material, it can attack a number of times up to the number of Happy Memory attached to it. Next is Pretty Memory, which is the only one that does not affect cards on the field, and instead makes each player gain 1000 life points, then special summons. And if it is material for a Purery monster, once per turn you can send another card you control to the graveyard, then attach a card your opponent controls to it as material. Next is the continuous spell Purery My Friend. Now this card allows you to hard once per turn, pay 500 life points, and reveal 3 Purery cards from your deck, except for this card, and if you do, your opponent randomly picks one to add to your hand and you shuffle the rest into the deck. This is basically your main search card, as this can search any Purery card, even the monsters. Next, it has the effect where if a face-up Purery Xyz monster you control leaves the field by your opponent, even during the damage step, you can add up to 3 Purery quick play spells with different names from your graveyard to your hand, which is pretty good. And finally is the field spell for these spell cards. This means that your opponent cannot target Purery monsters you control with card effects during the turn they're special summoned. And once per turn, if a face-up Purery Xyz monster you control leaves the field by your opponent, special summon 1 level 1 Purery monster from your deck or graveyard. And during each end phase, you can target 1 Purery quick play spell card and attach it from your deck or graveyard to an Xyz monster on the field. Now this is pretty useful as well. These 2 spells are very useful because of their floating effects that allow you to keep your engine going, and the field spell is especially useful for equipping quick play spells to make sure all of them are in rotation. And finally, for the Purery main deck cards, the trap card Purery Leap. This allows you to target 1 Purery Xyz monster you control, and special summon 1 Purery Xyz monster with a different rank from your extra deck by using its material, but return the summon monster to your extra deck during the end phase of the next turn. And while this is something card to keep note that you can only special summon a monster with a different rank, which as of right now is only 1 card. It also has the graveyard effect to banish itself and shuffle 3 Purery monsters in your graveyard into the deck. As well, I am running a small, or pretty large actually, Dark Lord engine, which is mostly here to draw cards, and because they have fairies, it doesn't really hurt much. This is mostly an early testing thing, and then just desires called by 1-for-1. Now the extra deck is where this deck gets especially interesting. I'm of course running Zeus, but the first Xyz monster I will look at is Purery Beauty. And all Purery monsters require 2 level 2s material, and all have different attributes. Now this one's effect is that once per turn, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effects, but this becomes a quick effect if Purery Pretty Memory is material for this card. Then, a effect that all of them share is thrice per turn. When you activate a Purery Quick Play spell card, they can activate an effect. This one can change a monster's battle position. Next is Purery Happiness. If this card battles at the end of the damage step, you can search any Purery card from your deck to your hand. And then, if this card has Happy Memory as material, you can make the attack of one face-up monster on the field become halved. This card's thrice per turn effect is that you can attach that card on the field to it as material, then return one spell trap card your opponent controls to the hand. And the final Purery monster is Purery Plump. Now this card, its effect is that once per turn you can target up to 2 spell traps in either graveyard, attach them to this card as material, and this becomes a quick effect if Purery Delicious Memory is material on it. And its thrice per turn effect is that you attach that card in the field to the material, and banish one monster on the field until the end phase. The final Purery monster in the extra deck is Purery Happiness, the boss monster, which requires 2 level 7s, but you can Xyz summon it by using a rank 2 monster you control with 5 or more materials and transfers materials. This is also the only target for Purery Leap's main effect. This card's effects is that during the main phase, you can detach one Xyz material from this card, and if you do, negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent controls until the end of the turn. And if this card has a level 1 Purery monster as material, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this effect's activation. Then, when an attack is declared involving this card with 5 materials, you can burn your opponent for 1500. As for this extra deck, it's just Dark Lord backup plans. Now, as for what this deck can actually do, this is a replay of a pretty standard test hand, involving a good bit of Dark Lords and Purery cards. Now, the first play here is to use the Dark Lord engine and go through the lines to draw some extra cards. Just as Pureries do like a critical mass of themselves in the hand, so being able to draw more cards is very useful. Afterwards, we can now go into Purery combo lines, and to start off with, I will activate Purery My Friend to search one card from the deck. And in this case, I will reveal 3 copies of Purery Pretty Memory. And I will add it to my hand, and the reason why is because this card is the one that allows for you to summon the Xyz rank 2 that gives effect negation. Then I will activate Happy Memory, targeting my continuous spell to give it protection and discarding Purery. And then I will special summon a Purery from my deck, activating its effect. Using its effect, I will activate 3 Purery cards from the top of my deck, and add one to hand. In this case, I will add the field spell. Then, place the rest on the bottom of the deck. Now afterwards, I will activate Purery's effect to reveal a Pretty Memory from my hand, and then use it as material alongside Purery to Xyz summon a rank 2. This summons Beauty. One thing to note is that, realistically, I should have actually activated Purery straight first, as if I had, that would have given Purery targeting protection on its turn to prevent Valor or Imperms from going through. In this case, it does not matter. Now, using Purery's effect, I summon Purery Beauty, which has Pretty Memory as its material, giving it a quick effect negation. Then I activate the field spell, and then set 2 cards from my hand, one of which is Purery Leap. Now, this end board might not look like much, giving 1 negate, but one of Purery's strengths is its ability to be pretty resilient. Now, in the end phase, I will go ahead and equip the last quick space spell that I do not have in rotation, Delicious Memory, bumping Beauty up to a 2500 attack monster. Now, on my opponent's turn, I can negate an effect. Then, if they remove Beauty from the field, I can trigger both Street and My Friend. Now my friend will allow me to recycle 3 Purery cards from my graveyard into my hand, and then the field spell will allow me to summon a Purery monster from my deck or graveyard. In this case, I will summon it from the grave, triggering its search effect. I will banish the top 3 cards of my deck, and add the revealed Purery card. And so now, while I'm out of in-engine disruptions, I have 4 cards in my hand for the following turn. And then I can continue to do this every single turn, and on that turn I can use the trap card to special summon the rank 7 Xyz monster. Now, what do I think about Purery? Well, the deck definitely has a lot of potential, as it has many search effects and floating effects and is pretty consistent. But as for this wave of support, it doesn't have much to do. As far as interruption on the opponent's turn, you have Beauty, which lets you to negate a monster, and Plump, which lets you to banish a monster until the end phase, and all these are pretty decent. Most decks can just play right through them. And of course the floating effects are powerful, but getting my friend in Street Online reliably can be tough. Now of course this deck list is probably pretty terrible, but I can't imagine it could be improved enough to patch up some of the weaknesses of the deck. And as for the offensive pressure, well, the ability to multi-attack with many of the cards, such as Happy Memories effect, is pretty good, and Happiness's entire board wipe, or rather monster negation, is pretty good as well. But the real issue is that the deck is just kind of slow and has a low ceiling, and we'll probably have to wait for more support in the future to improve the ceiling or a better deck list.